Hello everyone, so I just released my 360-degree short film called Immersion. It's an underwater immersive experience made with Blender, and I thought it would be nice to explain to all of you how I did it from start to finish so you can make yours. This will be a series of videos, and each week I'll be talking about a different aspect. How to write a script for a VR short film, how I set up the camera, how I made the underwater effect without using a principal volume, and finally how I rendered this heavy scene fast and for free, and how I edit the footage and made some additional effects. Before embarking on a VR project, we had to ask ourselves if our idea is worth all the trouble a 360-degree experience conveys. There are no stories that only belong to the world of VR or to the world of traditional flat films. It all depends on the way we'll show the environment, the characters, and the rest of the elements in the space. I believe that for a VR experience to be successful, the protagonist must be the freedom the audience has to look around in 360 degrees. Regarding the story, we must take into account how the elements will relate when it comes to the movement. If we make a story where all the elements remain static, the viewer will probably observe the environment in 360 degrees without too many surprises and without the technology being the protagonist. I believe this is where many 360-degree experiences fail and could well have been made as a flat short film. How will the elements be arranged throughout the space? How is the idea of movement and visual stimuli conveyed in the script? It is through these stimuli that we will invite the viewer to look in different directions throughout the video. So it is our task as filmmakers to think about what elements will play that role without abusing them, since we run the risk of confusing our spectator. Every virtual reality experience should begin with a research and tests before the production stage to prevent future inconveniences that will delay the production, from the software we'll use and the workflow to how the tools will be developed during the pre-production, as is the case for the script and the storyboard. As you will do in a flat live action or 3D film, you need to write a script. The script was written in the traditional film script format, emphasizing the position of the objects to convey the idea of 360-degree space and movement, clarifying whether an object comes from the right, left, etc. The first version of my script included some visual references. Here we have some scenes. It is our duty as filmmakers to place elements throughout the space, play with the depth, the distance between the camera and the objects, the lighting, the camera height, and the movement of the elements to direct the viewer's eyes, and so the viewer doesn't miss an important part of the action. VR can suffer from visual overstimulation in several quadrants simultaneously, so it is interesting to play with the reduction of visual stimuli. We generate depth with light, its direction, intensity, and contrast, but also with the color palette and differences between textures, objects, and backgrounds. Sound can also be used, especially in the case of spatial sound. In some cases, it is useful to make a script with a certain number of columns, where each column indicates which quadrant, left, right, forward, back, or pole up, down it is. Instead, I made my own circular plan attached to the script, using different colors for a quick visualization, and I used the same colors in the final script to make it easier to read and to understand the movement of the elements. In the first part of the short film, I played with the height of the camera to offer different angles throughout the sequence. So for the viewer, it is different to look up or down at certain times, such as the beginning where the camera goes down, or when the turtle goes up, the camera follows it, then the turtle goes down and the camera stays up, having the possibility of observing it from a different height. Then the camera goes down and places the viewer's vision behind the turtle close to the ground again. Because the video is a long forward tracking shot, I added some elements to direct the viewer's eyes in different directions at certain times, such as with the anemones that bloom at the bottom pole, the cells dividing at the back quadrant, and the lights turning on at the top pole. That way we have some diversity. As I said earlier, I had to investigate how to write a script, make a storyboard and an animatic that fits the 360 degrees and that is useful for the following production stages. I investigated about the types of storyboards for 360-degree video and virtual reality, and I found different models that were not really useful because they did not account for the spherical immersive world, but rather flatten a 360-degree image. Here you can see how the director of this 360-degree live-action short film also struggled making a storyboard as well. I believe these types of storyboards are difficult to make and to understand, so I skipped the storyboard and went straight into making the animatic. As you can see, my animatic is a really simple and even ugly animation, was rendered in only a few samples as well, and even the movement is a bit stiff. I used mostly simple shapes and primitives. I didn't pay too much attention to the texturing in this stage. These are just planes with an image texture from Google, and I used that technique quite a lot in the animatic. I also made a basic soundtrack for this animatic using sounds and music from YouTube, and then I was lucky enough to have the music composed by a musician. I uploaded the entire animatic in case you wanted to check it out. This animatic was made to see how long the animation will be, how fast or slow the turtle will go, and how fast or slow the camera movement will be. So now with my script, my circular plans and my animatic, I can get to the next stage of the project, but that will be in the next video. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.